Ravens, Giants, this one in New York. Man, it feels like, as much as I like Brian Daboll as a coach, it feels like we're running out of patience for him. I just don't know how much more abuse in the loss column and on the scoreboard this Giants team can take and keep him around. But final score in this one, 35-14. I mean, to be fair to him, when Lamar's playing the way that he played this week, anybody could. I
don't know what Brian Daboll could have done about this one. This was what we expected going into it.
It's just tough to stack them up. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just you got nothing to look forward to.
Tim Boyle playing the second half.
I'm with you. Yeah. No, I'm not trying to say that he's had every reason to be successful. He absolutely has not. I just wonder if they're just going to want a totally clean house and wipe their hands of it and move on. I don't know if they'll want something fresh, which, fair to Daboll, maybe not, but unfortunately kind of feels like that might be where we're heading. Anyways, top 5 graded players for the Baltimore Ravens before we break this one down a little further. Linebacker Roquan Smith at the top of the list with an 87.0. Wide receiver Rashad Bateman at 85.6. Offensive guard Daniel Falele at 77.7. Wide receiver Nelson Aguilar at 77.4. And then safety Ardarius Washington with a 76.9. At number 5. Lamar in this one, an 86.2 overall grade. On the Giants side of things, had one player grading in the 80s. It was cornerback Adoree Jackson with an 87.3. Wide receiver Malik Neighbors was next with a 71.8. Offensive tackle Jermaine Illuminor with a 70.2. Defensive tackle Elijah Chapman, a 68.6. And then offensive tackle Evan Neal with a 64.9. Tim Boyle in this game, the aforementioned Tim Boyle, took over for Tommy DeVito, 53.9. What's your stat that told the story here?
This game's all about Lamar Jackson, isn't it?
Has
just
to
Lamar.
be.
It's Lamar Jackson's world, and the city of Baltimore is just living in it. 5 big-time throws in this game. That was just the 3rd time in his career he's done that. The last time he had 5 big-time throws was 3 years ago, a game in Detroit that they just barely squeaked out. You remember what that game is famous for?
No, what is it?
Justin Tucker winning the game with a 66-yard field goal.
Oh, wow.
Field.
Good call. Good pull.
That's the last time Lamar had 5 big-time throws. It's just not something that happens very often, but those throws were also incredibly meaningful. 4 of those 5 were touchdown throws. I mean, dropping dimes. The Tez Walker
The first one was sick.
The first one was not to the corner, right? Yeah, the corner.
No. That was I think the first one was, it was the Mark Andrews one.
Oh, up the seam. Yeah, that was the first one. You're right.
My gosh. Yeah. When you watch that from the sideline angle, 19 is Simmons, right?
Yeah.
I think. Isaiah Simmons. He rifles this ball.
Like ear holes him.
Straight over Isaiah Simmons' shoulder and helmet. Like, the ball is less than a foot away from him, and it just goes straight to Mark Andrews' hands. That was an insane throw. Textbook definition of a big-time throw.
I love the one to the corner off the left side. Was that one to Aguilar or Bateman? I couldn't remember.
I think that was the second Bateman one.
Okay, yeah, it was the Bateman. The one to the corner off the left side was just nuts, too. Yeah. I mean, all of them. But no, Lamar, I mean, there's just days with this Ravens offense, maybe more than any other team in the NFL, where they just step on the field and the game is over. Let me give you a fun fact here. The lowest graded game by a defense this year was back in week 2 when the Cowboys played the Saints. Remember the Saints put up 49 points or something on the Cowboys? Okay, that was the lowest graded game of the season by any defense. The next 5 on that list are all games against the Ravens, which is just silly. I mean, that's just crazy. There are days, there's been 5 weeks this year, I really should throw in 6. The Denver game isn't on that overall grade list, but it's actually the lowest coverage grade also that anyone's put up all season when they dropped 40-something on Denver. There are weeks where this offense and Lamar just walks out there and goes,
"Yep,
yeah, we're just going to have some fun today." And that's what that's what this game, I mean, Ravens-Giants, it's a 17-point spread. This was bound to happen, but I mean, it's just there are weeks, there's not many offenses I've seen that there are weeks where just teams just don't stand a chance at all.
What's the updated MVP odds? Because I assume
Josh Allen's minus 900.
Yeah, I assume that Josh Allen is just a runaway at this point.
I think Lamar is 30. He might still be behind Barkley.
Okay. I mean, look, no disrespect to Saquon Barkley. Okay, all right. So we were just heard that Josh Allen's minus 900, and then Lamar Jackson is plus 550. Lamar in this game just wanted to remind everybody that while Josh Allen is certainly deserving of MVP, Lamar is as well. They are both right there in that conversation. And like you said, when Lamar plays like this, who stops this team? Right?
There's probably 10 teams in the league that this would just happen to, where Lamar could just walk on the field and this would happen, and they could do nothing about it. Nothing. 10 or 12 teams where he would just walk out there and do this.
Lamar genuinely is having a more impressive season than he did last year.
It's crazy.
And he might not win MVP this year. And he won MVP last year. Just kind of funny. Lamar is my most impressive in this game. You mentioned it, 90.1 passing grade, the 5 big-time throws. I was going to highlight the first one to Mark Andrews just because it's fantastic. And what you mentioned, the big-time throws coming as touchdowns, I feel like just mean a little bit more, right? And for what Lamar was able to do yesterday, it was just incredibly impressive. But honestly, on the other side of that coin, the stat that told the story is the Giants in coverage. 41 of their 59 snaps were in zone coverage, all right? Some sort of shell of zone coverage.
Which I'm a fan of for them because I thought they had run too much man for a lot of
Okay, well, here's the problem. I didn't disagree with what you said because they were struggling in man. They also can't play zone. You watch a couple of those plays yesterday from the Giants, these dudes are wide-ass open. Their 87.5 open target rate yesterday was the highest open target rate in the NFL from Week 15. I mean, it has to be one of the highest that we have had in any week this season, although it didn't expand the parameters. I could look that up in a second. 28.8 coverage grade when they were in zone. These guys have miscommunication all over the place. The Baltimore Ravens ran so many flood concepts or overload concepts to force the Giants to communicate and have great chemistry on the back end, and they absolutely did not. That is not where they are as a team or as a defense. And so you mentioned they can't play man, they can't play zone. I wouldn't bet on this team for a single other game this season.
No.
Like independent of their quarterback situation. They can't play man, they can't play zone. Those are the two kinds of defenses that you have. And they can't play either of them. And I think this game really highlighted that.
Pretty much the only reason to watch the Giants right now is Malik Neighbors. That's about it. And that's where we're at, and that's why they're going to be picking either one or two.
Which is, again, okay, so now I'm just going to go into I'll hear your most impressive, most disappointing. But my most disappointing is Tyrone Tracy. Like, I was hoping that, as the season goes on, all right, they're not going to get that many wins. At least Tyrone Tracy and Malik Neighbors are going to go off. Malik can't really go off with his quarterback situation. And Tracy, even on the weeks of the offensive line, is playing okay. He's not playing well. He's got one game where he is graded above a 57 since week 9. Before that, when he got in the lineup, we were talking about him as, wow, another great young back in this league, and I still think he is, but I thought we'd see a little bit more success, even amongst the team offensive struggles, and we haven't. He has been somebody who's been disappointing because I've wanted him to stand out a little bit more than he has.
Yeah, it's rough right now on both sides of New York, that's for darn sure.
You're most disappointing.
And, another foundational piece that we've kind of, we highlighted Evan Neal in that top 5 there, even though that's a relatively low grade for a top 5 too. But that same draft, you remember how we kind of talked about Kayvon Thibodeau in the preseason, and we were like, hey, are we going to figure this thing out and fulfill the potential we were supposed to? I'm starting to be a little worried about it 3 years into it now. 34.6 overall in this game. 2 pressures, but he wasn't blocked on either of them. Here's a split that kind of worries me. In the 2 games against the Cowboys, he has a 90 pass rush grade. Against everybody else, it's a 55.8. You can't only show up against the Dallas Cowboys. It's just not. It's another one. Just like with Evan Neal in that same draft, how that was kind of a whiff. You'd really hope it's not the case. Brian Burns has been really solid for him this year. We know Dexter Lawrence, when he's healthy, is great, but I don't know that Thibodeau is going to be that foundational piece off the edge.
You wanted this to be the big leap year from Tibbs,
especially with getting Burns on the other side and taking away attention, and Lawrence always needs triple teams inside, and it's just not clicking.
Nope.
On either side, pass or run. It's rough.
Nope. And not to say that he can't play better, but I feel like we're sort of running out of time for him to be like the superstar they drafted him to be, right?
3 full years is a pretty solid sample.
That's what I'm saying. And so it's not like the nail's in the coffin for his career. Like, he can still be a better football player, but if he was going to be a special football player, it's hard to not think you wouldn't have seen it yet from Tibbs. So I agree with you. That part has definitely been disappointing as somebody who liked him a lot when he was coming out of the draft. Thanks for watching, everybody. Make sure you like and subscribe the video. And if you don't have a PFF Plus subscription, you can get one to see all the premium stats that we talked about here on the show, plus the expert betting and fantasy advice over at subscribe.pff.com. The description is also right below, so if you are not a PFF Plus subscriber, you can become one today.